I'll humbly ask that we shall be upstanding for the performance of the Zambian national anthem, and thereafter we shall remain upstanding for the Chinese national anthem. Here to perform the Zambian national anthem, please welcome Mr. Emmanuel Sinkala.
Thank you so much, Mr. Emmanuel Sinkala and the technical team. We may be seated. So moving on, Dr. Nikita is the former Dean of Students at Greenwich University under the School of Social Sciences. He has also worked with numerous prestigious learning institutions and currently serves as an advisory member on the IRIS Advisory Board. Please welcome Dr. Nikita as he gives us the opening remarks. Dr. Sir.
Wilson, Dr. Ntesa, Secretary General of the Zambia-China Friendship Association, Madam Chelsea, Pastor Chelsea, who is with us here this morning, Ambassador George Zulu, who is the chairperson of the Advisory Board of the International Relations Association of Zambia, government officials here present, representatives of diplomatic missions accredited to the Republic of Zambia. I notice also Madam Ed, right? Former Director General of the PMRC, former, I beg your pardon, who is now well-being. Well, all I mentioned this morning will certainly bring about real change to people's lives. Let me mention our cooperations in the healthcare in particular. We're going to build a joint venture of cholera vaccine manufacturing plant, the first one in Africa, as we promised at the beginning of this year. We also reached an agreement on paired hospital cooperation mechanism right before the FOCAC Beijing summit. China has helped the Levy Mwanawasa University Teaching Hospital build a urological laparoscopy center, and we are now building a center for minimally invasive treatment of prostate cancer. Moreover, we will continue to support what we call small and beautiful projects with a focus on empowering women and youth. We provide assistance to support livelihood projects such as maternity clinics in remote rural areas on a priority basis, and we are working with the Zambian government on the drilling of 300 boreholes all over Zambia and the construction of more milling plants. Ladies and gentlemen, we in China believe in concrete actions rather than empty words. As I conclude my remarks, let me share that the Chinese embassy, together with the Zambian government, has worked out a matrix, a long to-do list soon after the FOCAC Beijing summit. All relevant Zambian authorities, including the Cabinet Office and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, represented by Mrs. Pierce today, are working closely with the embassy to make sure that this matrix has been translated into real changes on the ground at the end of the day. Now I'm all ear of your recommendations on how we could facilitate development in this country as guided by the FOCAC's outcomes, and I count on you continued support for China-Zambia cooperations. Thank you all.
A round of applause. If we could say cheers to Zambia-China relations. Thank you once again, His Excellency, for that profound keynote address.
So at this point, please allow me to welcome Mr. Walter Kasempa, who will moderate the question and answer segment for our highly esteemed keynote speakers.
Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
That's much better. I think we have heard both from the Zambian government and also the Chinese government on the very, very critical aspects of cooperation that are taking place. But perhaps maybe there are quite a number of issues that we would just like to delve in a little bit deeper so that we are able to understand more intimately how dynamic this very important cooperation for both peoples are. And I think my first question will go to His Excellency, Ambassador Jing. You mentioned quite a number of things, Ambassador, in regards to cooperation between the two peoples, what the Chinese government has committed to, what the Zambian government has committed to, and the various open doors. So my question is, does China, or how does China plan to ensure that FOCA initiatives are inclusive and benefit not just large-scale businesses, but also small and medium enterprises?
Thank you. Well, thank you. As FOCA properly said, as a leading platform that champions South-South cooperation and international cooperation with Africa, the Beijing summit announced 10 partnership initiatives, as I mentioned. So, according to the partnership, well, can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. According to those initiatives, thank you. So as I mentioned, during the summit, Chinese President Xi announced or proposed 10 partnership action plan, which we will implement it within the next 3 years. According to the Partnership Initiative for Industrial Chain Cooperation, China will implement an African small and medium-sized enterprises empowerment initiative. So that's the answer to the question. There is a special SMEs empowerment initiative, which includes financing support for African SMEs, 50 matchmaking actives, and 1,000 training opportunities for African business managers. Significantly, especially, China will continue to support China Development Bank in making good use of the special loan for development of the African SMEs and encourage other financial institutions to provide financing for African SMEs. Chinese provinces, financial institutions, and business associations will host 50 matchmaking activities to support Chinese and African SMEs in exploring cooperation opportunities. China will also pool resources to cultivate 1,000 professionals for African SMEs to enhance their business management capabilities. The China Development Bank, as mentioned, will provide African financial institutions with RMB 35 billion credit lines for SMEs to expand funding source for African financial institutions to finance local SMEs so as to help the small and medium enterprises relieve financing predicaments. We encourage the small and medium-sized enterprises in Zambia to make good use of those the above mentioned support measures and benefit from this effort. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. You've mentioned quite a number of things, and I think these things are quite critical to the Zambia-China relations. And part of the things that you mentioned is financing, empowerment, and those are really critical, as we do understand that Zambia and China are all-weather friends. I mean, for the past 60 years of Zambia's independence, I think we can attest to the fact that this cooperation has been very strong and standing. So thank you so much, Your Excellency, for your remarks and also for that important question. Now moving on to Madam Etambuyu, who is the PS for International Relations and Cooperation. And I think the ambassador has just mentioned quite extensive things that the Chinese government is willing to do, willing to partner with Zambia. And I think it's important for us to understand that it's a partnership. So in that regard, what would be the lessons then from the 60 years of diplomacy that can be applied to further strengthening the bilateral relationships between Zambia and China in the future?
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for that question. I think I'll frame it in three ways so that I provide context for all of us to understand. In terms of what lessons can be learned and how we move forward, I think there are three things. The first thing is really strengthening the bonds of friendship between the leadership. And we have this in history when President Kenneth Kaunda and Chairman Mao Zedong had a very strong friendship. Based on that friendship came strong cooperation in terms of political cooperation and economic cooperation. And tangibly, what came out of that? Tazara. And we've been talking about all that. You heard from the ambassador, and from me when we outlined that. And then the second one really is high-level visits, state visits, like the one our president, Hakainde Hichilema, took in 2023. What came out of that state visit? An upgrading of Zambia's relationship with China to a comprehensive strategic partnership. Tangibly, what came out of that? This means that now we are targeted and very strategic in our partnership in terms of looking at which sectors are performing in Zambia and which ones can China help us leverage the comparative advantage of that. But also more concretely, we have even the revitalization of Tazara has come out because of that state visit and discussions that took place at that highest level during the state visit. Then you have also the creation of multi-facility economic zones. This didn't just happen. It happened because of this dialogue between the two presidents. So you have the establishment of the Chambeshi Economic Zone, the Lusaka Multi-Facility Economic Zone, where you have several Chinese businesses and companies investing there and employing Zambians. What is that? Job creation. So you see the cascading of that. And His Excellency the Ambassador mentioned also the construction of the Mwanawasa Stadium, the construction of Hero Stadium in Lusaka. You see all these roads and construction around Zambia. The construction of the new government complex, that was China. The upgrading of the Kenneth Kaunda International Airport. So then that brings me to the third level, which is really to support each other's interests at the multilateral and global level. And I don't know how many of you know the history of the UN Resolution 2758 that saw China become a permanent member of the UN Security Council. Behind all that was the advocacy of Zambia, led by our distinguished diplomat, Honorable Benon Mwanga. So this lobbying and advocating that Zambia did, together with other UN member countries, of course, but Zambia took the leadership, so China gets a permanent seat in 1971 in the Security Council. So this is important. These are the bonds of friendship. When we say the bonds of friendship, this is what we mean. Because when there's mutual trust, there's respect, then comes the economic cooperation. So you have to build the relationship, even at a macro level, when you're just friends and
Thank you so much, Ms. Gunderson, for that very, very extensive response. And I think I've picked up quite a number of issues that you've raised. Indeed, China is a very critical partnership to Zambia. And more so, I feel like China is also a very great example to the rest of the world. I mean, 60 years ago, China isn't what it is today, and China is the largest exporter in the world. China is the second largest economy in the world. China is one of the fastest, growing partners to many African countries. So I think this bond, and Zambia has been at the center of China's growth. So perhaps maybe even just leaning into that, P.S. Gunderson, I think maybe I just delve a little bit further into what you said in my final question, which is, in regards to what has just been mentioned, I mean, FOCAC was an important forum. How can Zambia leverage on FOCAC to enhance key sectors like mining, agriculture, and manufacturing, which are the three backbone, sectors for Zambia's economy?
Thank you. So with that one, really, I think we go back now to the local participation, to involve local businesses, partnering. I think you always hear the president talk about joint ventures. This is very important to stimulate even private sector growth and local participation in that growth for sustainable economic development. So there's that, and also to leverage really the human capital of Zambia. We have a lot of youth. How can we get them to be skilled in those sectors that will allow them to participate meaningfully in the economy? And there's also leveraging the technology of China. I think doing that in the agriculture sector, in the mining sector. So these are just some of the areas, including capacity building. Because even if they give us technology, we need to be able to know how to use that technology, to absorb it in our systems and in our structures. So this is the way, I think, one of the ways.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to you, Ms. Gunderson, and His Excellency also for your remarks. And I think this session really was just meant to highlight what both governments are doing on an intimate level, and how local Zambians can benefit, and also how the people of China can benefit. As we mentioned earlier, it's a partnership, it's a collaboration. I like to view Zambia and China as brothers, so I think it's really key, so thank you so much. So ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. So at this moment in time, I would just like to invite Madam Rosemary to come and lead us into the next segment. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Walter Kasempa, and thank you to our keynote speakers for giving us the opportunity to engage with you this morning. So quickly, we're moving on. At this point, we're going to break off for 15 minutes as we prepare our minds for the next discussions. I will call up front Mr. Clark and Bantu Dio to give us a brief entertainment as we have this team.
The whole activity is an opportunity for learning on what has worked in the agricultural sector, okay? How structural transformation has changed, has happened in the agricultural sector. So I look at this as an opportunity where we can focus or learn from China issues of institutional and policy reforms in the agricultural sector, issues of technological projects, what technologies are there, what can we adopt, what can we learn, what can we do differently. And as my colleagues have also talked about infrastructure, that we cannot run away from, and it's very, very important. So we need to seek opportunities that will foster agricultural growth, that will bring social progress and ultimately structural transformation. I think if we can do that, our food security issues will be sorted out, and even agriculture's contribution to GDP will be significant. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mania, for those
say something that's quite interesting. When we look at perhaps maybe things like the first industrial revolution and what happened before that, there was quite a large, expansive agricultural boom globally, and that is what enhanced the first industrial revolution. So agriculture is a really, really important aspect of our day-to-day lives. But I really want to go back to Mr. Ngola because he brought out something that's a little bit close to home. The need for an inclusive kind of approach. Women and young people enjoying, infrastructure development and the local framework. And he mentioned one specific example, which was to see how young people can be involved in ensuring that they develop infrastructure that would perhaps prevent certain kind of pandemic. So my question to you, sir, then is, in your experience as an engineer, as a policy analyst, what are some of the specific projects that you feel that could be proposed under the local framework to further enhance infrastructure? I know you mentioned one of them already, but what are some of the proposals that you could bring to the fore in this process?
Okay. Very good. First of all, when you look at if you look around and maybe you go as far as Mala or there are a lot of infrastructure assets around in water, in wastewater, in roads, in rail. So all those things going forward, they are actually necessary for the country to develop. So if there is more investment in these, and especially like I say, my mission has always been the system. I am a strong believer in self-help. The Chinese government, they know this happening. Going forward, the government invests in infrastructure, but also there's another opportunity that not really to do with infrastructure, but to do with trade. You know that in Zambia, there are very few Zambians that own mining companies. And sorry to digress a little bit, but this is something that I have already come across. So with the Chinese government and the Chinese private sector, there is an opportunity for Zambians that are in who want to go into mining, who partner with Chinese, because these are people that will be approached. I'm not going to allow a little bit. I'm not the police analyst. I'm an engineer, but also consulting engineer. So I try to consult mining owners, small mining owners, how they can safely excavate, how they safely truck their minerals, and also design infrastructure projects. So now coming back to the opportunity I was saying, going forward, there are a lot of people that there are a lot of Chinese companies. I would want to partner with Zambia. And the Chinese are voted Zambia-China Association in Zambia, and it's non-voting in Zambia. So he approached me and said, okay, there are these opportunities, and we need so much in the young people. So I'm very impressed with shooting that from our country. So he's now young people that want to go into mining, for instance, so they can safely do their mining, and they can mining engineers can practice their mining engineering. There are a lot of accidents that are happening, especially in small scale mining, and yeah, so what I'm saying, as much as we involve new people in infrastructure build, they will see opportunities like that. When a mining collapses, they will see an opportunity to say, this is where I can go and probably build and safely excavate. Right? And I got about to say the other thing I was saying. When you see that the country is not developed, everything is not working, and you are there, it means you are not developed. Because it means that whoever formed the company to maybe say, build conflicts that are being washed away, he has now an opportunity to make money. I'm not talking about these undervalued projects that are making a lot of contracts poor. And I'm talking about properly valuing the projects which the contractor makes money and is structured through food and waste for the people. And at the end of the day, it goes to become a major contractor. And we have young people. I mean, I'm not talking about the older guys who say always that they are more fast. Those are not the people I'm talking about. I'm talking about the younger ones, especially those age. Yeah? You know, if he is a court at an age, he will be the one to do the future infrastructure.
Thank you so much. And I'm being tempted again to delve a little bit more deeper because you mentioned something that's actually quite critical, which is the issue of education, right? So you're talking about how can young people be part of these industries, and you mentioned something critical. Bring them when they're young, bring them when their minds are fresh, when they need that capacity, when their curiosity is at an all-time high. And this also speaks to the need for us to have policy, to enhance the educational sector as well. So thank you so much, Mr. Ngola, for
May I say something?
Yes.
So let me just say the education. But there's a very bad trait I've seen. I've noticed ever since I was young in Zambia. We always try the person by their ability to speak English, but ignoring their skill. But what I've noticed with supervising Chinese contractors is that even a peasant farmer from the rural area who doesn't have any formal education, at least he has a skill. Either he's a carpenter, or either he's a steel fixer, either he's a bricklayer. So when they are on the site, he's been start as a carpenter. But a very good carpenter, no English, no nothing. But when he was been given an opportunity to do that job, he see other opportunities and he grow from there. So the emphasis in Zambia, especially when you always have to recruit young people, even if we are in grade 9, if you notice that in Zambia, most of the people who want big businesses, some of them have never been to school. It's because they announced their talent and the time they were thrown out of the education system, right themselves. Now imagine if our system was to say, even if you don't solve it, teach you how to do public skill. IKEA, the company, that is one of the furniture makers, they found the best company. So we need to also emphasize on no human being is useless. That's because they don't have the skill. They still have the skill. And this is one thing I've noticed with the Chinese, the way they approach that, is how they remove their people from poverty. It's because the person with the skill, they become corporate and still go on and survive with his family. And imagine if you have an army of people with multiple skills, and then you group them in the economic activities of the country, you will be able to be and people say that Zambians are lazy. It's not really true. If you show a Zambian where the money will be coming from, he will wake up at 5 in the morning, I'll give it enough. Those boys who sell okay, if they are working for somebody else, and they are told that you go to work at 8 and you know of that 5. They will definitely go for 8 to 5. And because they know that is their business, you still find them at 18 hours, trying to make sure that because they know where the money is linked. So the minute you link the effort of an individual to the money, everybody is happy.
Thank you so much, and I do fundamentally agree with what you are saying. But perhaps moving on to the next question, which is for Ms. Zulu. So Mr. Ngola talked about interesting things about which I mentioned. I agree. I mean, we go to countries like Ethiopia, in Addis Ababa, when you look at the infrastructure there, you see a marvel that these are people who've got their own calendar, they've got their own time framework, they've got 90% of the population can't speak English, but it's a country that is developing. So in Zambia's context, Ms. Zulu, what are some of the sectors we feel that are most likely to benefit from this framework, and how can we as a country leverage on opportunities to export to China so that we can have a much needed forex, a much needed investment in this country?
So on top of my head, what comes to mind when we talk about sectors that can benefit from these opportunities overall, we as a country can improve the quality and effectiveness of our products and projects. In that way, we can benefit more. Imagine having the best, perhaps, honey, and also another area that think of would be the agriculture sector. And extensively talking about the agriculture sector because I have seen what China has done firsthand. I've had the opportunity to traverse in China's rural places, like Shandong province, where the communal villages, and those villages were ordinary people. Not only the highest entrepreneurs or the highest agribusiness people, but the ordinary Chinese coming together, farming together, knowing that cultivating the land, going back to the land as our founding fathers and fathers say, going back to the land, they have capitalized on such opportunities, and local governments can't help them in those areas. So I think the agriculture sector will actually benefit in this opportunity as put forward. And also the other thing would be that will actually benefit on is tourism itself. When I was reading a book by a presentation called Art and Life Equality, I think my colleague has been speaking about lifting our country out of poverty. This book, Art and Life Equality, actually extensively outlines how mindset shifts, actually worked in China for people owning their own developmental agenda and putting forward their energies to change and make a trajectory to make sure that indeed the lives are being uplifted. And it has to be delivered from ourselves as the people, our government, and all stakeholders to say, indeed, this is what we want to do. We want to get out of poverty and begin from that point. With education system, curriculum, both formal and informal education for also online people. So these are education systems out of sector. So it's an alter, actually encompassing all sectors that will benefit from the opportunities that ProPac presents.
Thank you so much, and I'm glad that you mentioned that book. Actually, Jeffrey Sachs also in his book, How to Eliminate Poverty and How to Achieve My Life, and talks about the need for us to lift the poor out of their poverty and into the ladder of development, which was my next question, which is for this one answer. So Ms. Zuma is talking about poverty, and we know that Zambia's majority of the Zambian people are living below the poverty line. So Zambia is a very poor country. It's a low-income country, and there is an issue of policy. There is an issue of the implementation of policy. And then there's also the relationship with China, who over the past 6 years has uplifted the majority of their population out of poverty, and is the second largest economy in the world. After it stated that by 2050 it will be the largest economy in the world. So what are some of the policies that Zambia should implement to ensure that Chinese investment leads to sustainable development and economic growth?
Thank you for that. I won't necessarily say or state particular politics, but we are not within macro perspective. I think it's about the overall policy orientation and what informs this particular policy orientation. So if you look at it from a formal perspective, it's our foreign policy which is underlined by economic policy should be moving towards ensuring that our policy is driving us down the road, not similar like that of China, which really is an important course, my really over there actually saw the prevention in my course. But just to provide some notes, critical, I think, is if you look at the trajectory of Chinese development. I remember a few years ago, there was all our people in the Chinese were actually seeing the number of people that over the years that called 800 million people. Right? Primary to that, for me, is that Chinese are so consistent with civilizational imperative that such episodes of Chinese history, the colonization, brought so much push in the Chinese spirit to develop, to own the process of development, right? To look back and to look at, for example, the Opium Wars and what they did to China. Chinese have been motivated by ensuring that they own the development process. And this is given by what I feel is new in our conversation here, having the national banking system. That is very critical in any development of business. So, just to piggyback on what they say, the issue for me is we should have a policy framework that is guided by the issue of knowledge, skills, and technology. There is so much to learn from China. Like many people, I refer to China as a manufacturing hub of the world. Right? It is a template. Right? So we must borrow or learn from China so that in our efforts at capacity building and future investment in China, they don't have to come here at this, for example, engaging turnkey work. We need the transfer of skills, transfer of that technology, so that even with Chinese investments on China, they can rely for human capital, that will help develop, of course, and then working to particular areas of investment. So to me, it's about the overall policy orientation, and specifically national value system, underlined by technology, knowledge, and skills transfer.
Thank you for those very, very interesting comments, and I really do agree with you in that regard. The national value system, I think, is really key and important. But even as we draw to the conclusion of this conversation, I think one thing that is intimate, and perhaps one of the things that usually is mentioned in conversations like this is that we love conversations, like talking about what must be done and what must not be done. But I think this presents a very unique opportunity, even as His Excellency is present here today, which brings me to the last question that I'll ask in Salon. When you look at China's agricultural sector, right, it is very interesting, and it always baffles my mind. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that part of China's arable land, I think out of mainland China, only 30% of their land is arable, but they're a country that is largely food secure. And it's something that really puzzles my mind. Rwanda's land, 90% of it is arable. It is good for agriculture, but we are facing a food security issue. And perhaps my question then to you is, how can we as a country learn from China's experience in agricultural modernization?
I think one of the key things that we should learn from China are issues of research and development. Heavy investment in research and development, and not only looking at research and development, linking research to industry. We have that weakness. Researchers can come up with different innovations, different techniques, or improving things. Okay? But how are we linking this to industry? Okay? Breeding. What are we doing in the area of breeding? Okay? Breeding livestock, plant breeding, so that we have crops that are suitable to our conditions. Okay? In as much as we can learn from China, perhaps the crops they are growing are suitable because they have invested heavily in the research and development for crops that are suitable for the Chinese climate. Okay? But we also need to invest in that kind of research so that we are going to crops that will thrive, high value crops that will meet not only our own local standards but international standards. Because remember, if we want to grow our agriculture sector and ensure that it actually contributes significantly, not just contributing, but a significant contribution, we also have to have high value crops, not only for our own consumption, but for export and for industry needs. You did mention earlier on that if you look at development in other countries, agriculture has actually been the foundation of development. But when we look beyond the agriculture, we see the research that has gone in and development. So a lot of money has to be out there if we're going to improve our agriculture. So we should let them China in terms of their research and development and ensuring that it doesn't do that. And it also starts with us in academia. We do a lot of research and are publishing papers, but are we taking our research where it really matters? And it matters in practice and not just on paper.
Thank you so much, Ms. Maloda. Thank you so much, panelists, for those wonderful, wonderful points that have been brought up. And I think it's really, really interesting to say that. I always want to say this, but it's interesting to say that Ambassador Han is here, and it's not often that we see high-level delegates bringing through and listen to what local experts are talking about, gathering information on how this partnership can be done. So thank you so much for being here and listening to the conversations that are going on. Please, perhaps you can mention something.
Well, thank you so much for this resource precious opportunities. I listened to the discussions with strong interest. By answering the questions the panelists touched upon was all the important sectors of the future collaboration. So here, I would like to share another perspective. I would like to emphasize one keyword I feel is very important, that is collaboration. There are different types of collaboration. The collaboration between both Chinese and Zambian efforts. And we, for example, the joint venture, we see the example, the Chinese enterprises jointly with IPC Zambia to set up a vaccine plant. It is also a strong wish from clear instruction from this president. The second sort of combination is the combination between or among different walks of business. For example, I raise another example. Recently, one Chinese company launched a new mine project. They simultaneously plan to build a solar power plant, which could provide the energy supply for the needs, for the demand of the project, the mine project, but also we can provide surplus to the neighboring communities. The third sort of combination is the combination of doing business and with investments to add in the R&D. Just now, this is a very clear elaboration of this. The third, yesterday I met the delegation from the downtown, which is the very largest energy enterprises. They signed an MOU with Zasco to build solar power plants. Meanwhile, they also signed another memo to set up a research and innovation center in that. That is also a very good example. The fourth type of combination say, a combination which do business with accessibility. As the old Chinese say, we only assist our friends. We give them the fish, and also we teach them how to fish. So here in Zambia, while doing business, the enterprises are encouraged to set up the vocational education center. And also, we would like to keep providing the training opportunities of especially for the youth and the women to go to China. And the very last type of combination is the combination to do business here and do business in the neighboring countries. For example, I visited Coconut province of this Gold. I see already several Chinese enterprises has already put their regional storage center, maintenance center, or service center in Zambia. They choose Zambia as the regional hub, or the regional center. We would like to encourage them to do so. And this also could fulfill this president's vision to make Zambia a continental hub, which could take good advantage of the geographical advantage of Zambia. So those some aspects I think we could keep exchange views on, and we can make a thorough study about all the proposals of the focus summit. We can find the solutions prominent, and by doing this, we can maximize the outcome of those important mechanisms. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Han. Thank you so much, panelists. So come to the conclusion of this kind of discussion. Allow me in this moment just to invite my co-moderator for the afternoon session, who is Ms. Etura Chela, who will be moderating the next segment. But aside from that, ladies and gentlemen, please, whilst the delegates are still here, whilst the high-level officials are still here, whilst the panelists are still here, please let us not leave. Let us engage, network, ask questions, build synergies to see how best we can improve Zambia-China relations and develop our country large. Thank you so much, and God bless. Ms. Etora, please. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much. I'd just like to ask the panelists for the second segment to join me. Madam Hope, Madam Blessings, Mr. Mula, if you could please just join me at front. Madam Lucy, please join me as we dive into the second segment. Please feel free to sit so that I can talk. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for our first session of panelists. Thank you so much and good afternoon. Allow me to simply write on the protocols already observed. As mentioned, my name is Etura Chela. I stand as the Secretary General of the IRAS, International Relations Association of Zambia, and I'm excited to be on this panel today. With me